Hi, and welcome back to Beans and Bezels. Second Hour is a new microbrand based out of Australia, and they raised roughly $122,000 through their Kickstarter campaign earlier this year. That campaign introduced their first watch, the Gin Clear Diver, and it was very well received by the watch enthusiast community. Since then, they've put out teasers for their next two releases, and I'm very impressed by both those designs. Late is better than never though, so I decided to spend some time with their debut diver, the Gin Clear. This watch had a Kickstarter price of roughly $425 to $450 and is currently available for pre-order at $490. Let's check it out. The case measures 41.25mm in diameter and 42mm at the bezel, 48.5mm from lug to lug and 13.5mm tall if you include the slightly curved crystal. The case is mostly brushed, with the only polished elements being the beveled edges of the lugs, the bezel and the case back. The reasonable lug-to-lug width is made possible by means of short lugs that dramatically curve down towards the wrist and even extend past the case back. There is a signed screw-down crown at the 3 o'clock position that is protected by a well-designed pair of crown guards that covers roughly 80% of the crown. The ridges on the 7mm crown are excellent, and it was very easy to grip and operate. I didn't notice any crown or stem wobble, and this movement was surprisingly smooth to operate for a Sellita SW200. There is a 120-click unidirectional bezel with a ceramic insert and all loomed elements. The bezel grip is great and the action is very good, with loud clicks and little to no backplay. The 3.5mm thick sapphire crystal is domed and has multiple layers of AR coating. Flipping it over, you have a solid screw-down case back with an embossed hawksbill turtle, and this watch is rated for up to 200 meters of water resistance. I was sent the Sunray green dial with a gloss black ceramic insert. The base of the dial is a beautiful shade of green and has a wonderful sunburst texture that can only be really appreciated in person. Upon close inspection, I did notice some microparticles of paint on the dial, but this isn't visible to the naked eye. The sunburst effect also seems to completely disappear based on viewing angles, which I thought was pretty neat. There is an outer minute track with printed white ticks for every marker and Arabic numerals for each increment of 5. The quality of printing is good, and it's easily legible against the green dial. You then have applied circular indices that are very generously filled with lume. The finishing on these indices is great for the money. I'd say better than the Zelos Mako V3 that I recently reviewed. An interesting design choice is the lack of circular indices at the 12 o'clock, 4 o'clock and 8 o'clock positions. These indices look like flattened arrowheads, and I actually like this unconventional marker layout. It does the job of letting you identify the orientation of the watch while also looking unique. The brand's logo is printed under the 12 o'clock along with its name below it. Under a macro lens, the quality of printing isn't the best I've seen on a microbrand, but these differences are indistinguishable to the naked eye. The handset is also in gold to match the rest of the dial, and the design has been very appropriately selected. The hour and minute hands are well proportioned, generously filled with lume, and are finished reasonably well. The seconds hand is the star of the show with lollipop style loomed element, a painted red tip, and a counterbalance that is a skeletonized version of their logo. The finishing is good, but I really wish the seconds hand was a bit longer to cross over into the minute and seconds track. Overall, I'm sold on the dial. The design and colors are stunning, and it makes it very easy to overlook the minor finishing details, which even on their own are acceptable on a roughly $500 watch. The lume design on this watch is excellent. All the dial and bezel elements are loomed with BGW9 Super Luminova. The hands are very generously loomed, glow bright, and hold their charge well. The indices are great too, and they didn't hold back at all. I love seeing loomed bezels, and even more so when all the elements light up. As you'd expect, the bezel fades a bit quicker than the dial given the limited surface area, but you'll be able to read this well into the night. You're not going to be disappointed by the lume on this watch. The quality of bracelets and clasps coming out of Chinese manufacturing units these days is beyond impressive, and all the microbrands and us customers are clearly reaping the benefits of this. The Gin Clear has a very nicely designed and manufactured bracelet with H-links that are vertically brushed and have polished sides. The links are screw-based, and Second Hour provides the necessary screwdriver to adjust them. This is always a win in my book. The bracelet is 22mm at the lugs and tapers down to 18mm. The end links fit great from a design perspective, and the fitment along the horizontal direction is near perfect. I noticed some vertical wiggle on one end, but this isn't anything to worry about and not noticeable either. The clasp is common to many other microbrands, but that's not a bad thing. This clasp is entirely milled, has 6 micro adjustment slots, and is push button based with a lock. For the price, you can't really ask for more. I did experience some hair pulling near 2 links in particular, but this wasn't terrible and clearly not a deal breaker. This watch uses a Sellita SW200-1. I've talked about this movement plenty of times before, and I don't have any problems with it. If regulated well, it can keep excellent time, and if you treat it nicely, it is unlikely to break down on you. Speaking of regulated, this watch came very well regulated. I logged the accuracy of this watch over a 3-day period and observed roughly 0 seconds per day, with 1.5 seconds per day variance. I'm impressed. Maybe they sneaked a COSC certified movement in here without telling me. This case wears really well on my 6¼ wrist and is among the more comfortable watches that I've reviewed. And the surprising thing is that the case is roughly 42mm in diameter and 48.5mm from lug to lug and 13.5mm tall. I typically find 42mm watches too big, but the lug to lug width and appropriately curved lugs bring these dimensions together very nicely. The 13.5mm height sounds a lot taller than it feels, and the flat case back and well balanced weight helps it sit well on the wrist. It is pretty hefty, coming in at 180 grams though. The lugs also extend beyond the case back, which is always comfortable for me. To wrap this up, if you're one of those Kickstarter backers that got this watch for close to $400, consider yourself very lucky. If this unit is any indicator of the final production pieces that you're going to receive, you're going to be very happy. If you're only learning about them now and like what you're seeing, I don't think you'll regret the pre-order price of roughly $500 either. This watch checks off all the boxes: good build, good design, good movement, good lume, and a good bracelet. So I can't really think of any good reasons as to why you wouldn't want to buy one of them. As always, thanks for watching, and don't forget to read the full length review in the link below.